Episode 7 Recovery. Really, I have had COVID since the last video. I actually put it in the text. You could really see it in my face and my eyes. I didn't even realize what I had yet. Whenever I was editing that video, my wife tested positive for COVID. And then I got it just a few days later. And I'm just about over it. I still run out of breath. I still feel pretty weak and wore out, but I'm starting to come back around and trying to make as many of these episodes as I can. So that's true. Thank you, Rooster. We are trying a few different things here. This time it's pretty much just going to be a talking one. My plan originally was to build some of the props for this episode so that you could see some of the things that I was working on, but I have had no ability to do anything aside from try to be better. This one is definitely going to be more of just a talking discussion type thing. So whenever I first realized I actually had COVID, I had just given plasma. And in case you've ever given plasma, it already kind of makes you feel wore out anyway. And that was one of the worst realizations I've ever had. I don't really know exactly when the whole prop making thing is going to start. Hopefully before next video. I'd really like that to be the video that includes all of the props and stuff. But man, I am trying to be energetic and bring some stuff out and do. But I promise you, I am fighting that COVID. And last time we talked about settings, and I kind of went over the opening scene. After he stares off into the darkness, staring out at whatever evil is lurking out there. All of that is meant to be kind of what my little brother went through. My little brother had schizophrenia. It was maybe drug-induced, but his dad might have had it, and so it's like maybe this happened, maybe that happened. He was 21, which is like prime schizophrenic age, and some of the things that he went through was hearing voices originally sort of around him, and eventually those became internalized into a voice that lived inside of him. And I'm basically going to use the woods around the mask maker as the voices around John. And I actually have some audio of my little brother talking about what he was going through, and I was thinking about audio tweaking that to make it sound like whispers, and then actually using some of the audio to have John sort of be included in some of the voices and stuff. I don't know that I'm ever going to show you a direct, like, physical speech from the voice. It's just going to be like whispers and kind of not quite make it out kind of words. Maybe the mask maker or someone might repeat it, but I don't think it's ever going to actually be. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Haven't got there yet. This is all as we go along. So in the next scene, it's bright and early. The sun is raining through the forest. It's golden morning rays. We actually have some coming in right now from over here that look amazing. The golden hour of the morning, at least. It is pretty early in the morning right now. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Hence the cup of coffee. But we're going to have a close shot of a bunch of masks on a table. Of these masks, I plan on having some cameo appearances of different masks, sort of like the mask salesman from Zelda. Well, all the Zeldas, but the one I'm referring to is from Ocarina of Time. On his pack, he had a mask of Mario. He had a mask of... Actually, I don't remember who all it was. A bunch of weird, strange little Easter eggs that they put in there. Definitely Mario. I feel like there's a few others. I think there's a Gerudo mask, and which leads to Majora's Mask, and the same mask maker, and I think he even has the same little Easter egg masks on the pack on that as well. But anyway, so the table, going to be basically what the mask maker has been working on the past few days or weeks, and he's going to load up his pack and his cart and head out to go into town. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a horse-driven cart, or if it's just going to be him with the big pack walking. I mean, one's definitely cheaper, but the other one will probably look better. Those roosters are going crazy. I don't even know if they're picked up on the microphone, but they're loud enough, I'm pretty sure they are. I feel like there should probably be roosters and stuff in the background for this, too. So he loads up his cart, he loads up his pack, and he starts walking down the trail from his little hut out of the way, out in the forest, into the actual village that he lives nearby. In the village, he's going to either trade or maybe sell his masks and other little trinkets and wooden carvings and little things that he's made for food, for water, for clothing, for more materials, for, new tools if he needs them. Everyone in town really likes the guy. They all kind of feel sad and sorry for him. Something tragic happened to him, and he's kind of just lives day by day, putting all of his time and effort into these wooden things. Usually wooden. Keeps to himself. He doesn't say much. The town adores him, though, because he's never hurt a fly. He'll go out of his way to make stuff that you actually enjoy. And if you have a request for him, he has never let anyone down for those requests. On his trek, Trek? Star Trek. On his way into town, on his way down the path, I'm going to have just like some rustling in the trees and maybe a little whisper here. Maybe him staring a little too long at something that might not be there or something that would seem insignificant to the viewer. But in actuality, he's hearing a voice from maybe a caterpillar on a leaf or on a butterfly flying by or, a squirrel running overhead. Normal things that would normally be in the forest on the way to the village. So he gets to the village, he meets his first, maybe friend. I don't know if we can call any of the villagers really friends, but the first person that actually knows him, they all just run up to him. Nobody really calls him a name. Maybe they just call him Mask Maker. He might even have a name that he just doesn't respond to anymore. That's just not who he is anymore. But he walks up to his first friend and pulls out something that she requested specifically. It was a kitsune mask, but a little bit more on the dark and evil side. I actually have that prop being built right now. I found some really cool stuff at the Dollar Tree that I can use as a base with a little bit of paper mache and a little bit of weathering and paint know-how. It's going to look pretty good. But he pulls out kitsune mask for this vendor, and this vendor hands him a bag of assorted fruit. And then he walks on to the next, walks farther into the village. He is going to come across 3 or 4 different villagers, all sort of have the same interaction. Some are going to whisper about him before he gets up there. Some are going to, blatantly ask him how things are going, probably more forward than they should be. I think that maybe the third villager, so the first villager, he makes that kitsune mask for. The second villager, I'm not really sure. I think it should be maybe sort of a gruff man who sees him and walks up to him angrily. And then whenever the mask maker pulls out something for him, maybe even something like a baby doll for his daughter or something, he stops and smiles, and you see the big, large facade break into the gentle teddy bear that he is, and he takes the doll and he hands the mask maker a coin purse. Or whatever's the traditional way for whatever area that he ends up getting put in. Originally, this was all in ancient Japan. I just literally know absolutely no one Asian. The acting skills, as much as I think they might be fine with who I can find to work for this, probably shouldn't be like, what's it called? Is it called Yellowface? I promise I'm not trying to be racist. I just don't know what it's called. But I also don't want a bunch of white actors pretending to be Asian. It's not the 50s anymore. I honestly thought that the dude from The King and I, wow, I can't think of his name. It'll come to me. I honestly thought he was Asian. I keep wanting to call him Walter Brimley, and that's not. My grandpa looked like Walter Brimley. What is his name? I was talking about him just the other day. That's crazy. I'm sure I'll flash his name across the screen and show some pictures. I really did think he was Asian, though. I thought he was like one of the first big name Asian actors and everything. He was totally white. What was his name? It's going to bother me. It's going to come to me at the end of the video or something. The mask maker, after he gets the coin purse from the big rough guy that's actually really nice, he goes on to the third person, and the third person is going to be a joker, a comedian. He's probably going to be like a laid-back, larger, fatter guy. He's going to have another, vendor stand, and it's probably going to have some stuff on it that most people don't really want. I might either make it like a toy stand, or maybe, actually that works. He could be a toy stand and he buys stuff from the mask maker to sell it as toy stand. That would totally work. But he asks the mask maker point blank how he's doing, if everything's okay, if there's anything else he needs to talk about. And I don't think I'm going to have the mask maker say hardly anything to this guy. I'm going to let the jovial guy do most of the talking and most of the storytelling. I think between these three vendors and what they say to the mask maker, I'm going to be able to really give some depth to his character so that you can see more about his history, more about what's put him where he is. I really going for, I don't know if I want to necessarily call it a slow burn, but we're definitely going for a build up, I guess. I think that's really the best way to go for it. Because all in all, this is supposed to be a 20-minute film. And I'm coming up with a lot of ideas, and usually they all get cut to very small portions, so I think it's going to work. But in my head, I feel like the whole first sequence is going to be an hour and a half long in itself, which no one wants to sit through, especially not in today's day and age. After the third villager, I think that he needs to go to, if it's going to be in Japan, he needs to go to a shrine or to a specific repetitious tradition of every time he goes to the village, he goes to this place. If it's going to be in Japan or somewhere in Asia, if I can work that out somehow without going, Tom Cruise Last Samurai in it or something. This is going to be to show his devotion and loyalty to his family and how much it's broken him. I want not that this part has nothing to do with my little brother. This is just giving me a reason to make him a hermit. What my little brother went through, he was either living with me or my mom or my dad. He was kind of bouncing around. His brain went everywhere. He thought that speakers were recording what he was saying. He actually ended up with, I don't know if it was necessarily scoliosis, but he needed rods on his back. It's a surgery he didn't really want, but my parents ended up convincing him to get. And then once his schizophrenia kicked in, he started thinking that the surgery, when he got the surgery, they also connected him to MK Ultra, reading his thoughts, implanted something in his mind kind of thing. More, or at least less logical leaps have been made. It's still sort of tragic where the way it ended. And I guess we'll never know the real truth as far as that goes. We only know what logic and experience can tell us. But he eventually came to the point where the voice spoke so horribly to him and threatened him with such horrible things and threatened to make him do such horrible things to his family that he decided that stopping the voice at all costs was the only way to get out of it. We tried taking, state hospitals and psychiatrists and all the fun stuff. Of course we did. But he ended up finding the quickest and easiest solution in the most tragic way you can, which is why I'm telling the story of my brother instead of interviewing my brother here. Because that'd be way cooler to be interviewing him about how he's dealing with all the shit that I'm writing about. Well, he didn't. Fun times. Little tragedy for everyone. If he goes to a shrine, it's going to be something where he slowly walks up. We're going to zoom in on very specific parts of the shrine that mean something very specific to him for each member of his family. I'm thinking a wife and a kid and maybe a sibling, or, you know what I mean? Maybe not just like a wife and two kids, but more of a spread out family. They were all killed one way or another, and he deeply thinks it's his fault. As far as what that tragedy is and what exactly happened, haven't got there yet. Don't know if it'll ever be mentioned or brought up, because the weight of the tragedy is really all that we need. The inferred tragedy, I think, is going to be perfect here. And it's going to let viewers sort of come up with their own ideas and sort of let them build their own, backfill their own backstory, essentially. And I really like that aspect of it, because you can't keep going like what happened before, what happened before, what happened before. You can only get so detailed before you lose interest in the viewer. You lose the viewer's interest. Those things. So after he pays his respects at the shrine, or pays his respects at maybe a cemetery, I do live literally across from a cemetery, making it look somewhat older than it does. Probably wouldn't be too hard. I bet you, as long as, there's probably permits and people to talk to, but I bet you that's something that I could do. actually isn't a terrible idea. Another set location. Maybe a shrine and cemetery type thing. There's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack here, because there's a lot of different ways this could go. But so I think after that, maybe something happens that freaks him out a little bit at the shrine. Not necessarily like terrifies him, but you can tell his anxiety level is up. His blood pressure has been raised. He is drastically more upset than he was before he got there from something specific, something that didn't belong, something that maybe was put there by an outside force specifically meant for him, even though it wasn't. Something that sort of hints at his mental state not necessarily being as good as it should be. And on the way home, having those, when he's going down that trail, and this time it's going to be in the evening, in the dusk, not in the golden hour, like when he was going to the village and everything was great, but in that blue light dusk, the same dusk that we started the film with, when everything kind of blends into itself, whenever the blues and grays of the day all just sort of meld together, and it's hard to distinguish the trees from the grass, from the creatures, from the birds, from the people, from the buildings. And I think this is the best time for things to mess with people's heads. This and like the dead of night, of course. Something about dawn that just doesn't do the same creepiness that evening dusk has. That's when he's going to be on his way home, and I think I'm going to really ramp up the amount of whispers, and then as it gets darker, more and more eyes are going to be surrounding him, and that's probably the fade out for that scene. So this is scene 2, and both these scenes aren't going to be more than maybe 2, well, the first one's probably only going to be about 2 minutes. The second one is probably going to be more like, the second scene, well, I guess the second part is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4 scenes, with one of the scenes being broken up into different vendor interactions. Bringing up the locations for each of these actually isn't too bad. So I think I already I'm going to put some more up, I'm sure, but there's a road close to me that we're going to use for the trail going to and from the village. Has a lot of really, really wooded spots. There's a lot of spots where it's completely covering the road. I love the way it looks. I've always called it the pretty road when referring to it, because who needs exacts when you can have generalization, right? Another setting is going to be the actual village itself, and I think one of the only ways that I'm going to be able to make this work is forest perspective canvas paintings, building like carts, filling them with probably fake fruit and fake, I feel like we'll see how that goes, but I wonder if fruit would be able to last as long as I need it to. Having all the different props for each scene. So the first scene that we talked about today, we're definitely going to need a whole bunch of masks. I've been working on a lot of masks, but a lot of them have been cloth masks. I've done a lot of like Spider-Man and Deadpool type masks, which are really fun, but they don't really necessarily lend themselves to this ancient timeline. Those are actually going to be in part of the timeline we currently are in, as a callback to the mask maker in ancient times. So those were super fun to make too. Here's some pictures. I think they turned out great. I love wearing them. I love everything about them, in all honesty. I thought they came out fantastic. More sewing. These are some of the things that I made after the kimono, which I still don't think I've shown y'all. Y'all don't even really need to see it. It literally looks like someone's trying to wear a tablecloth. That being said, I'm probably going to show y'all here soon. I really think that building the side of the hut, I'm going to use a pallet. There's some people that live, I think, in Romania that have a YouTube channel and they build survival shelters. And a lot of times they use almost like a shingling with wood, which I could use pallet wood for easily. And it gives it this really old and weathered look. And I think it would look pretty much exactly how I would want it to for the side of the hut of the mask maker. I keep saying hut. I mean more shack than hut. It's more of a shack. This is a picture of what I'm talking about. I showed you in the last video also. It's more of a building like this, and I'm just building the side of it so that he has something to stand next to, and I'll put a work table out next to it. I've already built the table, actually. I might have to dress it a little bit more to make it look a little less like something I threw together and a little bit more like something he can actually work on. And then I recently found out that they actually used a way lower workbench a lot of the times in Asia and most of the Eastern world, as opposed to our stand-up workbenches we use over in the West. So that's something else to think about and include if that's where I'm going to be taking this from, or this to. I really think that using the Asian and probably Japanese idea and location is really going to lend itself to the masks and the symbolism behind the masks. Now, a lot of cultures have a lot of symbolism in their masks, and I could do something more local, more like Native American, but I just don't know enough about it. My grandma always said that we were half, or whatever, name a percentage, Choctaw. Who knows? As far as whenever my mom did her DNA testing, we were Irish. Very Irish. A little Scottish, a little English, mostly Irish. And the fact that those three islands are all right next to each other, they be fucking. We also are a little bit African, because who knows? Humanity. What? They came from Africa. What? Just in doing research in different masks and different things that I've seen and different media that I've digested, it was really easy to go towards something like the Japanese masks. I've done a lot of research for the Japanese irozumi, or the tattooing. I really got into doing things like that. I actually built a guitar with this on the back. This is all designed by me. I'm actually really proud of this. But it symbolizes, you'll never guess, my little brother. The head with the short katana being stabbed through its head, through its forehead, represents very specific things, versus the crane on the bottom, which is a messenger from God. The maple leaves that are scattered throughout. My little brother was born in December. All of these all have sort of an autumn to winter motif, because in December in Japan it's actually more of an end of autumn. And it all ties together to represent what my little brother went through and what he means to me and what he's still doing for me. And I actually put it on the back of the guitar that most represents myself, so that it can be constantly a reminder of my little brother and what he means to me and how deeply he affects everything that I do. And then the next guitar that I built was built on his aesthetic, but on the back of that, I'm actually doing another Irozumi piece for my other brother, who's still alive. He actually lives in Sacramento. Shout out to Spencer, who should be, I don't even know if he's watching these. I don't even know if I've told him that I'm making these podcasts. Lost my train of thought. How far are we in? We are into 26 minutes. Some of the things that we have to think about, I really need to get the costumes going. I need to figure out exactly how many people that I'm going to need on camera, so that I can start talking to people. Another idea that I had was to never really show their faces. I'm just not sure if that's going to come across the way I want it to. But just sort of always show, like, the mask maker, show his mask, show him talking to these people, but always picking angles to where the actors' faces are never quite shown, just to sort of dehumanize the entire thing and isolate the mask maker from everyone else. I'd have to see how it looks. It's something that I'm going to have to try. It's an idea, but it's certainly not something that I know will work. So I'm going to have a few different storyboards probably, and different ideas. So I like to storyboard everything out before I shoot it. And it really helps me with the directorial part of it. Me coming from a comic book background. I was not. I was doing 20 minutes, but that was for the setup and everything. Now that we're actually talking about things and going through stuff, it really needs to be a certain length. But anyway, now that I've regained my train of thought, choo choo, chug chug motherfuckers, I storyboard everything coming from a comic background. It really helps me place people in the scene. It really helps me visualize everything that's going to be within the realms of the camera that's looking at it. Sort of the whole, getting this perspective going on, but easily changeable and easily done by myself with a pencil and a piece of paper. So I storyboard everything out, and these aren't works of art by any means. They're stick figures and scratches and squares, and as long as I understand what's going on in the storyboard, that's usually all that matters, because it's just me. Anything that needs to be more detailed or more specific, or if other people actually need to look at them, I do put a little bit more effort into them, but not as much as you would think. Now, I mostly would use storyboarding for comic book writing. I would have a story in my head, and I wouldn't really write it, script it out. I would storyboard it out. I would go for the flow of the story and the visual storytelling aspects of comic book writing. Speaking of the golden morning hour, I'm getting light on my forehead from it. I have one vent in this shed, and it just happens to be exactly where the sun comes in at this point, at this particular time of day. It's like a sun calendar. It's pretty amazing. Makes me want to come back next year at this exact same time and see if I get the same light on my head. Storyboarding it out. I might do that before I finish editing this video and show you some of the storyboards here. If I do, they're not going to be very good. Forewarning. They're like I said, stick figures. They're just ideas. They're all very brainstorming more than they're anything close to art. They're specific and utilitarian for my specific directorial, big quotes, needs. I think that more input from more people would really help me. I don't know if it would really help me or not. I really enjoy working with other people, and I really enjoy other people's input, but this is a very specific to me type project. I feel like maybe if I'm working with other people, maybe I should make it a different project or something that we come up with all of the parts first. But I'm just not sure. So like in bands, of course, I've been in bands. I'm surrounded by guitars. I always preferred to be in a collaborative band than in a Bobby and the Guitar Guys type band where I'm the lead of everything and everyone else just does what I say. That's never really been me. I would rather be in a solo band where I do all the instruments and I write everything than having to tell people, do this, do that. And in a film sense or in another project sense that's more like this, I like it to be very collaborative, very bounced ideas off of each other. I've always seen better and more awesome ideas come out of that. It really ups the confidence, and it usually ends up upping the entire motivation and movement of that idea and project if you have more than one person just really amped about it. For me, I can be really amped about a project for a while, and then I end up being really amped about a different project. And the first project a lot of times goes to the wayside. Once again, the whole point of this podcast is to keep me on track of doing this film. That's why we're trying to do two podcasts a week where I keep on track, I discuss the film, and it's as long as it's in my brain, I can look at different aspects of it. So not only are we looking at storyboarding, where I get to draw and think about things directorially and storytelling wise, I get to come up with new stories. I've been coming up with the different props and stuff that I've been trying to make. There's so many different aspects of this already, and we're only like 3 or 4 scenes in. I think don't even have necessarily 5 minutes worth of footage after editing and everything. And I feel like it's already going to be like a month worth of work by myself. I feel like it'd probably be a day's worth of work if it was like experienced people that knew what they were doing. If I like somehow fell into the right film crew and was like, hey guys, I want to do this, this, and this today, I really feel like it could be done easily. But that's not the case. So instead, the hey guys is me talking to me. Well, and you guys, I guess. Y'all are always welcome to throw stuff in the comments. Like, subscribe. Throw that in at 30 minutes in. Gosh, this COVID, dude. Seriously. Other things we're going to try, as far as all of my visual references for the video part of the podcast, I'm going to try doing full screen instead of the little news anchor video that I was doing before, just to see if that flows a little better, looks a little better, maybe. I think the audio is still doing great. As long I have one fan on, it's really quiet and in the distance, and it's keeping me from dying. It's also only 82 outside right now because of how early it is, so that's nice. It's humid, so humid. But it's not hot yet. That'll come. It's also weird that it's so humid with how much of a drought we've been going through. I think with the next one, hopefully I have some props to show you. That is my goal for the next episode. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Storyboards, I do want a few, hopefully up for this episode. Hopefully you've already seen a few. Hopefully this conversation right here is redundant. Like, dude, we saw him. Why are you talking about that? Because I got to fill the space, dude. I'm trying to flesh out a decent amount of time. Don't judge me. I want to eventually get to hour-long rantings and ravings and ramblings, and hopefully including other people. That's my big goal, is to be interviewing other people, have other people here with me, bouncing ideas off of each other, reviewing movies, talking about what we feel in the film industry, the comic industry, the who cares about industry, what's going on at the house, all of that fun stuff. I think that's great, and I really find the engagement entertaining. So I just need to find the people to talk to. Everyone that I talk to is like, oh, that's cool that you're doing a podcast, and they don't want to have anything to do with it, except for Tom. But us getting together seems to be like I gotta put more effort into it. It's really just coming down to, yeah, let's do it. So actually, what is today? What is today? Today is Friday, and I'm still sort of COVID-y. You see? You see what I mean? So, there it is again. Tom's available every weekend. He's a real man, and he works Monday through Friday like a real person. He's more than happy to come down and record with me. He lives about an hour away. That's my biggest problem. Everybody that I know that's, not part of my actual immediate family lives forever away from me. I don't know too many people here in China Spring. I've had only a few jobs that actually correlate with people, and most of those people I don't really talk to anymore. Not for any reason. I just fell out of touch, especially whenever I got rid of my Facebook account. Seems like as soon as I got rid of my Facebook account, I just kind of lost touch with so many people that we would touch base with every once in a while. I'm not the one to touch base. I need to really work on that. That's something that I honestly think I really need to work on as far as what I could do better in my own personal life, is getting in touch with people that, I still consider friends or acquaintances that I just don't really think about contacting. I'm always think, man, I hope they hit me up sometime. And that really should be a two-way street. I really am glad that I was able to sit here and flesh this out for this long. I was kind of worried coming out here. I don't really even have a script. I wonder if you can tell. With this COVID hitting me and knocking me out, knocking my whole family out, it, really put a hindrance on what I was able to produce. I was supposed to have something Sunday for y'all. And then I'm trying to do it every Sunday and Thursday. That is a very black something. Oh, and it flew away. Out that vent that's on my face. So every Thursday and Sunday, whenever my parents split up, they said they're trying to figure out the custody. And I was 12 or 13 at the time, depending on when the conversation took place. But I was very adamant that I wanted to see both of them equally. My dad had a weekend position job where he would work 40 hours over the weekend, and my mom didn't work. So we would spend Monday through Thursday at 6 with my dad, and then he would take us all to mom's house after school Thursday evening, and we would be there from Thursday to Sunday at midnight when dad would get off work. So it was like split essentially right down the middle, and I love that aspect of my life. I've always liked that split, so that is the split that I'm trying to bring to these guys. It is hard to start off just immediately being able to do that right in the middle of just everything. It's honestly hard to just go, okay, I'm going out there and recording something else. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. Until you start doing it, then it's not so hard. But like coming up with what you're going to do next, having something planned out, it's not as easy as some people seem to just have it. I want at least something prepared for you guys whenever I'm actually recording. This looks like war paint on my face. It's actually kind of cool. Oh, and it's gone. I wonder if that's going to be distracting in the video or if it's going to look kind of cool. Let's hope for the second one. Okay, so we are finally coming around to the end of what I wanted to record. I think the second scenes, the next couple scenes, are going to go along really well. I'm not sure if I should storyboard the opening or the part that I described this time to show you with these, or if I should show you more throughout the entire video. I guess we'll figure that out here in a minute whenever I start messing around with that. Ain't got nothing but time for the rest of the day. I could chop this down, get all the ums and pauses and various awkward looks and nose picks and whatnot pulled out. And we hopefully will have a good little video. It shows you some visual progress on top of what you listened through and listened to all the way to the end. I really appreciate that. Hopefully this COVID is out of my system by Sunday. And Sunday I plan on having another video for y'all. Might be Monday. This was supposed to come out yesterday. Hopefully it comes out today, it being Friday. But we shall see. I should have it all edited. I just don't know if I'm going to have all of the storyboarding up yet or not. So that's fun. We'll have that soon. And other than that, guys, y'all have a great one. Have fun. And I'll catch y'all in the next episode. Don't judge me.